In this video, we're going to look at square roots. And when I say square roots, you can think of that as unsquaring a number. Here's what I mean by that. 25 is a square number. And we can express 25 as a base to the second power, or a base squared. That means I'm going to take that base and I'm going to multiply it by itself, and I'll get my square number. So what I'm looking for is what number times itself equals 25, and that number in this case is 5. So we could say the square root, and we use this symbol right here, it's called a radical. This radical means that if we take the square root of the number that's under it, which is known as the radicand, we get the unsquared number, the number that we need to raise to the second power to equal the radicand. So here's another example. If we take 49, 49 is a square number. It is some number raised to the second power, which means some number times itself equals 49. We are trying to find out what that mystery number is, and it is 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. So again, here's our radical, here's our radicand. The square root of 49 is 7, because 7 squared is 49. Here's another example. We know that 81 is a square number. So if we are trying to find the square root of 81, that means I'm looking for what number squared equals 81. In other words, what number times itself equals 81. And in this case, that number is 9. So the square root of 81 is 9. So far, I've just been using square numbers. And the reason I've been using square numbers is because they will give you whole number answers. But it is possible to use a number that's not a square number and find the square root of it. Now, I'm not going to actually do the calculations for the square root of 120 because that's fairly complex. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to estimate approximately what is the square root of 120. So that means that what number squared equals 120, or what number times itself equals 120. I don't know any number times itself that equals 120. However, I do know that 10 times 10 is 100, which means 10 squared is 100, or the square root of 100 is 10. And I do know that 11 squared, 11 times 11, is 121. So 11 squared is 121, or the square root of 121 is 11. Notice that 120 right here is very close to 121, but it's slightly less than it. So the square root of 120 is going to be somewhere in between 10 and 11. It's probably going to be very close to 11 if we thought of this as a number line, and here's 10 on the number line and here's 11 on the number line. The square root of 120 is going to be really, really close to 11. So somewhere between 10 and 11, my guess is just slightly less than 11, probably something like 10.9 or something like that. Let's look at one more example where we're going to estimate a square root. Let's say we're trying to find the square root of, let's do 59. That means what number squared equals 59, or what number times itself equals 59. And I don't know any number times itself that equals 59, but I do know numbers times themselves that are close to 59. And I know 7 times 7 is 49. So 7 squared is 49, and the square root of 49 is 7. And I know 8 times itself is 64. So 8 squared is 64, and the square root of 64 is 8. 59 falls somewhere in between 49 and 64. So the square root of 59 is going to be somewhere in between 7 and 8. It's probably going to be closer to 8 because 59 is closer to 64 than it is to 49.